Fear in Colombia tonight.
Colombia's drug bosses bombing and burning buildings and homes in Medellin.
A la mierda el cartel de Cali. A la mierda Judy Moncada. A la mierda los Castaños.
The drug war between the Cali Cartel and Pablo Escobar's Medellin Cartel was one of the bloodiest and most violent conflicts in the history of organized crime. The two groups were bitter rivals, with each vying for control of the lucrative cocaine trade in Colombia and beyond. Both cartels were highly organized and sophisticated criminal organizations, with extensive networks of suppliers, distributors, and enforcers. Many people were forced to choose sides or risk being caught in the crossfire, while others tried to stay neutral and avoid getting involved altogether. In this video, we will be taking a look at the gripping tale of violence, power, and betrayal. It is a reminder of the devastating toll that the drug trade can take on a society and the lengths that people will go in order to control it. Watch the video until the end to see who won the bloodiest drug war in history. But first, don't forget to subscribe to this channel to join the dark side of crime and never miss our upcoming video. It's the early 1980s. Colombia was experiencing a boom in cocaine production. Pablo Escobar and the Orejuela brothers saw an opportunity to make enormous profits by controlling the market. While the Medellin Cartel was founded first, in the late 1970s, by Pablo Escobar and a group of other drug traffickers from the city of Medellin, Colombia. The Cali Cartel, on the other hand, emerged later in the early 1980s as a separate and distinct criminal organization. The Cali Cartel was founded by brothers Gilberto and Miguel Rodriguez Orejuela, who had previously been involved in the marijuana trade before transitioning to cocaine. The cartels quickly established themselves as major players in the Colombian drug trade, with a sophisticated operation that included money laundering, political bribery, and extensive international smuggling network. While they both operated in the same industry and had similar goals, there were some significant differences between the two cartels. The Medellin Cartel was known for its violent tactics and ruthless approach to business. With their so-called vertically integrated business model, they controlled every aspect of the drug trade, from production to distribution. The Medellin Cartel had a much more global reach than the Cali Cartel, with operations and connections in countries around the world, and had a notoriously violent relationship with the Colombian government, which led to a number of high-profile assassinations and bombing. In contrast, the Cali Cartel was not led by one man only, but led by a group of 4 leaders, known as the Gentlemen of Cali, who were more business-minded and relied less on violence to achieve their goal. They focused on establishing strategic partnerships with other criminal organizations and government officials to expand its reach and protect its operation. The Cali Cartel was more focused on maintaining control within Colombia and neighboring countries, and had a more cooperative relationship with the government, using bribes and other forms of corruption to maintain its power. Overall, while both cartels were involved in the same illegal activity, the Cali Cartel was known for being more businesslike and used a strategic approach to the drug trade, with a focus on money laundering and political bribery, using their political connections to bribe officials and manipulate the system to their advantage. Cali's extensive network played a significant role in its success, because of their connections to numerous informants and spies, politicians, police officers, banks, and mercenaries, as well as the vastness of the surveillance network they established. While the Medellin Cartel was more violent and prone to direct confrontation with the government, they were known for their ruthless tactics, including bombings, assassinations, and kidnapping. And maybe because of Escobar's violent approach, it was that in the late 1980s, Pablo Escobar was at the height of his power, and his Medellin Cartel was operating with near impunity in Colombia. Escobar was known for his ruthlessness and willing to kill anyone who stood in his way, including politicians, judges, and law enforcement officials. At the height of their power, the Medellin Cartel was the largest drug cartel in the world and smuggled 3 times as much cocaine as the Cali Cartel, and was responsible for up to 80% of the world's cocaine supply, while the Cali Cartel controlled much of the trafficking and distribution network. The drug war between the Cali Cartel and the Medellin Cartel started in the late 1970s and early 1980s, when both organizations emerged as major players in the cocaine trade in Colombia. However, in 1989, the Cali Cartel decided to take on Escobar and his Medellin Cartel. The Cali Cartel began to strike at Escobar's organization by attacking his financial networks, killing key members of his cartel, and turning informants against him. As the competition between the two cartels intensified, so did the violence. The drug war between the Cali Cartel and the Medellin Cartel escalated in the 1980s and early 1990s, with both organizations engaging in a bloody conflict for control of the cocaine trade in Colombia and beyond. In 1993, the Cali Cartel even managed to bribe some of Escobar's own security forces to turn against him, leading to his eventual capture and death in 1994. So, despite their later emergence, the Cali Cartel eventually became the dominant force in the Colombian drug trade in the 1990s, following the fall of Escobar and the Medellin Cartel. In 1993, after years of intense fighting with law enforcement and rival cartels, Escobar was finally tracked down and killed by Colombian authorities. With his death, the Medellin Cartel began to crumble, and many of its key leaders and members were arrested or killed. The Cali Cartel, on the other hand, had a longer lifespan, and like rivals in another industry, the Cali Godfathers took lessons from Escobar's rise and fall and learned from their rivals' mistakes. They had learned from the Medellin Cartel not to make the same mistakes. For example, the Medellin Cartel was sometimes also referred to as the Wild Wild West, known for its brutal tactics and violence. They were responsible for a reign of terror in Colombia in the 1980s and early 1990s, and their violent tactics made them a top target for law enforcement and rival cartels. But the Cali Cartel took a different approach. They were more organized, and they knew more about business. They had more sophisticated accountants and a diversified portfolio of investments in Colombian and U.S. companies. They were more business-oriented, focusing on money laundering, bribery, and other sophisticated means of controlling the drug trade. They were also more politically connected, with extensive networks of corruption that reached high levels of government. And because of this approach, the Cali Cartel was able to send hundreds of tons of cocaine to the United States and launder billions of dollars in drug money. At one point, it was said to control 80% of the world's cocaine trade. But despite Cali Cartel's victory over Escobar, their reign was short-lived. The US and Colombian governments launched a massive operation on drug trafficking in the 1990s, and the drug war between the Cali Cartel and the Medellin Cartel ended with the dismantling of both organizations by law enforcement and government forces. In 1995, the Cali Cartel's top leaders, Gilberto and Miguel Rodriguez Orejuela, were arrested and extradited to the United States, where they were eventually sentenced to lengthy prison terms. The end of the Cali and Medellin cartels marked a turning point in the history of organized crime in Colombia. It was a victory for law enforcement and government forces, but it came at a high cost, with thousands of lives lost and communities torn apart by violence and corruption. The conflict between the Cali Cartel and the Medellin Cartel led to a devastating toll on Colombian society, with thousands of lives lost and communities torn apart. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of organized crime and the need for strong law enforcement and community-based solutions to address the root cause of drug trafficking and violence. It also paved the way for new criminal organizations to emerge and take hold of the drug trade in Colombia and beyond, demonstrating the ongoing challenges of combating organized crime and drug trafficking. That was all for this video. What is your opinion on the drug war between the Cali Cartel and Medellin Cartel? Let us know in the comments what you think, and don't forget to subscribe to never miss our upcoming crime story. Until then, see ya.